So I wanted to make a video on faith and religion and what that means. And it's so much harder to have, I guess I'll just start off this way. It's so much harder to have faith in something you can't feel, see, or touch. Then you look at the Old Testament where there was so much going on, so many examples of divine intervention and influence that we don't have today. Like, for example, in Nebuchadnezzar's time, a hand appeared through the wall and it wrote on Nebuchadnezzar's wall. And he sought his wise men to come and interpret and read what was written on the wall, and they couldn't decipher it. So he had heard about Daniel, and I'm paraphrasing. So Daniel came and he read what was written on the wall, and it was written, in my understanding, by God's hand. It said that these things were going to happen to Nebuchadnezzar, and sure enough, these things happened. And then you look at Nebuchadnezzar, you look at Babylon, you look at Israel in the story. So I've been reading the book of Josephus, and there's 2 books. Anyway, so I was reading that last night, laying in bed, and I'm just paraphrasing. I can't remember people's names, yada yada yada. It's not committed to memory, and I read it just before I went to sleep. Actually, I started falling asleep as I was reading the book, but I would encourage you to get the book and read it yourself. And so he was an historian in that time and had some really brilliant insight, into in what took place. But anyway, so reading that last night was really interesting, and how certain things were given back to the Jews. So there's a long history of Jews owning that land in Israel, and there's just so much more. But I was telling my wife this morning, sitting across the table, how hard it is sometimes for me even to just have faith in something I can't feel, see, or touch. And growing up in a dysfunctional family and not having a real dad, not having that affirmation, a manhood affirmation, how that's affected me as a man or as a young man growing up, and some of the stupid things I did because I didn't have a good role model. And I didn't have a male sounding board to bounce things off of, and how I was just willy-nilly on my own, and that's basically how it was. And that, now today, in my mid-50s, I reflect on that thinking, wow, it's been a profound effect on my life. But I certainly have not let it kill me, bring me down, nor destroy me. But in my soul and my heart, I feel sometimes a bit diminished by it all because I didn't have those things. But I'm manly enough to know that, I can overcome those things, irregardless of not having them when I was a young man. Because I'm much more mature today than I was when I was 18, 19, 20, 21. And how important that role is in a young man's development. How important a mother's role is in a young man's development, as well as your daughter's development. So, in a religious aspect, you need 2 parents, both male and female, to properly raise a child today or any day. Because 2 dads, 2 moms cannot give that boy or that girl what they need to become a successful adult. It's just not going to happen. So I was struggling with that this morning, and what I've read, how I wish that the Lord would reach down and touch me in a way that I would know that's just from Him. We get so blindsided sometimes that, we read the Bible, but it's just words, and those words do speak to us, but it's our own voice. And how comforting and reassuring it is to have someone else speak those words or place that hand on your shoulder or on your forehead or on your head or hold your hand and say, whatever, hey brother, I'm right here. I've always been here. I'll always be here. But just as a dude, you know how important that is. Whereas women are more emotional and they can take things upon faith much easier than men can. Whereas we're so visual in our daily lives, and we're driven by what we see visually and through contact. So there's all those things that if you don't have those things, you lack those things, that you have to work around, learn to adapt, so on and so forth. And that goes in marriage, when you have one thing and then your spouse removes something from you that had been consistent for decades, how that profoundly affects you as a man. It changes your dynamic. And in some cases, it makes you emotionally unstable, but not in a horrible way, but questioning things, things that you thought were solidified and pretty much carved in stone change. I mean, it's much more dynamic than that, but, I really don't want to get into too much stuff. Ask me and I'll tell you. Maybe, we can do it, in private or something or what have you. But, hey, like and subscribe and let me know what you think of this video. This video's longer than I intended it to be because, it's a much bigger subject to talk about. And there's definitely more to talk about. And to really dig deep into stuff like this, you can't be done in 2 minutes. So anyway, like and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Please give me a thumbs up. Share the video. And leave a comment. Let me know what you think. How that impacts your life. Lack of parenting. Did you have that? Did you not have that? Marriage, how does that impact your marriage? How long you've been married, how many kids you have. There's so many different dynamics that factor into just what I was talking about. And those things play key roles in your ability to comprehend life on a daily basis. How you move through life on a daily basis. Based on those things that took place under the age of 25. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. And again, I keep saying this, like and subscribe, and please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. It really helps me out a lot. It doesn't cost you anything, and really help me grow my channel and my subscribers. And get more dialogue going. And so it's just not me and a handful of people. So anything that you can do to spread the word, I'd appreciate. I know sometimes that can be brash, hash, and I let the expletives fly sometimes, but, that's just passion on my part. And, sometimes, our vocabulary just doesn't give me enough to express myself, and I have to say, excuse me, pardon me, but anyway, hey, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next video.